Hi Aries, so this is the higher octave reading, extended from the general reading that we just had. And as I mentioned at the end of the general reading, you have here in the position of the recent past or the past, the same card. Now in the first deck I used, it's the Judgment card. In the Voyager deck, this card is called Time Space. Now, you're both numbered 20 in the major arcana. So, just wanted to mention that before I get into it, but where do I start? Well, it's interesting also that you have in the center as well as your card, in the very heart of the reading, you have the Ten of Wands as well in the Voyager deck, and you had that also in the previous reading as your crossing card. It's interesting because what this says to me right away is that you are your own obstacle in a way. You are your own obstacle. That says to me that there is part of you in your spirit which is, I mean, essentially, obviously you're a tenacious person. You are strong, you are brave, but perhaps you haven't acknowledged that it's time to let go. It's time to move forward. And perhaps the strife and the difficulty that we were talking about in the first reading is kind of being perpetuated because you won't let go. You won't let go. And in this spread you have here as your crossing card, the Fool. That says to me that the obstacle for you, or the challenge for you, is to find the courage to make that fresh start, to overcome all the difficulties, to overcome your own inertia, to overcome your own perhaps stubbornness, or perhaps your own fears, your own reservations or uncertainties, to actually take that fresh start that you know that you need. Now, there are some cards here that clearly said to me that there is something here about an extremely unhealthy situation in relationship, and perhaps this is something that you may have experienced in a pattern before. Maybe it's a cycle that has been something you've had on repeat in your life. Perhaps you've had unhealthy or toxic relationships. Perhaps you've been in abusive situations before. And again, because you have this card here in this position as your recent past, the Judgment card. Again, I'll say with the spread that I'm doing, even though I'm using a twist on the Celtic cross spread, I don't necessarily hold the card's position to what it's labeled as in the reading. I kind of make a synergistic, synthesized, energetic snapshot of what's going on by combining the energies of all the different cards. So the position that are in, it doesn't really matter. What's more important is that you just pay attention to what I'm saying here, because again, this is something that is very karmic. Now, when I say that, I don't mean to make you think that this is something that was meant to be. I really don't grok that. I don't believe in meant to be. I believe in karma. I think karma, we need to all reframe the way we think about karma and what we define it as, because I think the common paradigm or the common thought form around what karma is not actually quite on point. I think karma is about consequences. What I mean by that, we are creating our reality, and in effect we create our own karma. And past lives or whatever, whether you believe that or not, it's not really relevant. I'm talking about how our thoughts and our actions, our behavior creates our reality, and how stuck thought forms and old patterns of thinking, old belief systems, ideas that we hold to be true are actually what we use to manifest the future, to create our reality right now. And I'm saying that here because you have the Devil and the Lovers together here. And that just means to me that if there has been unhealthy, toxic relationships or unhealthy attachments with people, perhaps abusive relationships, it says to me that there is part of you that needs to resolve and let go of whatever it is that you believe that you deserve that, or set that aside for a second. If you're not at that stage yet where you're ready to, you know, resolve or move on from pain or difficult situations, perhaps this is a wake-up call for you to acknowledge that you are playing a part in these abusive relationships by simply allowing them to continue by staying in them. I know that sounds really strong, and it may feel really painful to hear, and it may feel unfair. I don't mean to be dismissive at all of anyone's trauma, anyone's pain, anyone's suffering. I just mean to help you understand that you have control, you have power, you have a lot more power than you think you do. In the central axis of the reading here, we have the Tower card in the conscious, what we know position, and at the foundation of the reading we have the Balance card, which in this deck is number 8, which relates to the Strength card in the Rider-Waite deck. What that says to me, having this as the central axis that the whole reading is kind of swiveling on, is that if you don't make a change, the universe will make it for you. If you don't return to balance, if you don't reclaim your power, if you don't put an end to the victim mentality that you have, life will shift in such a way to change your situation so that you can get out of this reality. But you have to understand that with the Tower card, it can come if you're not being as proactive as you could be, if you're not being as kind of aware and collaborative with the energies that are at play, with following your own intuition, with following your inner knowing, then situations can change in such a way that it's shocking and sudden and unexpected and can be difficult. And what I mean to say with that is, if you are more willing to make changes when you know it's time to make a change, and be more, what's the word? Yeah, participatory, or just in general aware of what's going on, of the energies at play and your role in it. If you don't make action when you know you need to make action, life will make action for you, and it won't be as easy as if you did it yourself, right? Again, I don't mean to be dismissive of the difficulty that you're in, but you need to find the willpower and the strength to rise up and say, I'm worth more. I want a better life. I want a better life for myself, for my children, if you have children. I want a better situation. I am loved. I deserve love. I can take care. I can get the things that I need for myself, and I can move forward in a way that is empowered. Now, what else do we have here? Again, in this corner here, we've got the 5 of Wands with the 6 of Cups, and in this deck, these cards here talk about, again, oppression, loss, sadness, pain, disappointment, trauma, and similar to what you had in the previous reading, these cards are talking about, again, strife and difficulty. But I think it's important to remember, since we're looking at this from the higher octave perspective, that it's more about feeling those things, feeling those emotions, and moving on, like allowing yourself to grieve, allowing yourself to feel sadness, and let that move through you so that you can start fresh and make anew, and free yourself from the oppression, free yourself from the binding, free yourself from the anxiety, the dissolution, the exhaustion, the struggle. And yeah, take your life in a much more positive direction by synthesizing all the things that have happened, by acknowledging all the things that have happened, and rather than them become things that sit inside you and become resentment and bitterness and depression, but actually find a way to take all those things and turn them into motivation and drive and life skills, life skills. Yeah, you have here in these corners again, you have the Children of Wands and the Child of Wands and the Child of Crystals. In this deck, that means the Page of Wands and the Page of Swords. Again, it would say that there's this energy here of you feeling perhaps a little helpless, of you perhaps feeling like a victim, like you're waiting perhaps for someone to come and rescue you or to save you. And you have the High Priestess here, you have the Judgment card, you have the Queen of Crystals here, which is the Queen of Swords. Now, all these cards are saying to me that there is a lot of support for you in the unseen world and in the earthly realm. But there's also it's all these cards are you, right? You are the High Priestess. You are wise. You are intuitive. You are a mystic. You know? You may be feeling like you're in a really difficult time in life and that you're really struggling. But these cards are kind of a reminder or message to tell you that you have what it takes to make your life whatever you want it to be, to turn your situation around, to overcome setback, to overcome loss, to overcome disappointment, and move forward and return to innocence. Come back to a state of, that's what the Fool card is about for me. You have the Fool card as your crossing card in the middle here. And the Fool card for me, it's not about being naive or young-minded or, you know, kind of just blindly trusting. The Fool is actually the person who's been through everything. It's the person who's had the worst of the worst happen to them. But they are able to heal themselves in such a way that they can actually come out of all of that and have a return to innocence where they're actually able to find joy and trust in life again and create the joy and the happiness that they want. Yeah? At the bottom of the deck you have the Hierophant. I would say this is a message again to you to acknowledge that the situation you're in is like your own, it's your own self-study. This is your own, you know, if we want to talk about karma again and what that means, it's like the part of you that's choosing all these lessons so that you can initiate yourself into certain levels of experience in life, to have gone through those things. The wounded healer, the person who's been through struggle and difficulty and found their way out of it and become that kind of archetypal person that can then use their experience to help others. I'm not suggesting that that's the path for all of you, but you know, it's definitely like, I mean, everyone has their struggle, and some people go through much more difficult things than others, but all of us are here to learn. We're all here to evolve, to become more aware, and fundamentally becoming aware of the patterns that we've been playing out, whether it's in this lifetime or in previous lifetimes. It's looking at what patterns are we playing out, what's inside of us, what are our cellular memories holding, what is the data that we have that makes us kind of do and have certain experiences over and over again. It's about having the lucidity to look at everything that's going on and say, hey, hang on a second, wait, let's just take a moment and like read this situation and see where you are responsible. What do you need to address? What patterns do you need to address? What belief systems or what ideas or thought forms that are you holding, whether consciously or unconsciously, that are perpetuating certain patterns in your life? And how can you break free from them? How can you change your mind? How can you release yourself from negative thought forms or old patterns of behavior and you might even be acknowledging or recognizing in the situation that you're in that this is something that's come through your lineage. Perhaps you're living a type of repeating pattern that maybe you saw in your family home when you were a child. I think, humanity is, especially the people that, if you're watching this, you're obviously someone that's waking up and you're becoming aware and you're wanting to participate much more in the evolution of humanity, of your own self. So, this is the chance for us to really, might sound unnecessarily dramatic or exaggerated, but we can heal entire lineages at this time. We have the chance, there's really specific frequencies that are available on the earth realm right now that have never been available before. And it's allowing for some incredibly deep healing to happen on a generational level. So individuals like us who are willing to look at this kind of deep trauma or deep pain that is being relived have the chance to heal not only ourselves but our entire genetic lineage. I know that sounds like a lot, but take what you need from this. But I'm just trying to help you to understand that you have all the tools in your toolkit to progress through this situation and create a better one for yourself. Overcoming loss is a very tough job, and grieving is an important part of that. I think if you just try to if you've had difficult experience and you just try to be too pragmatic about it and just brush yourself up and off and move on, you're really not actually taking care of business. You have to really actually grieve and deal with sorrow, express emotion without being attached to it, without being identified to it, and resolve it in a genuine way. That doesn't mean it goes away. It doesn't mean you move on through life and you're just a happy-go-lucky person. It doesn't mean that you don't ever have difficult periods in life again. This process is ongoing. This process of identifying patterns, of identifying repetitive situations that are playing out, or issues inside of ourselves that you may have been addressing before and you thought you'd resolved, perhaps they'll show up again in the future. I'm not saying that this is a one-time situation and then you're going to be happily ever after. It's simply about awareness. Let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah. It's really hard. Again, I'm not being dismissive or blasé about any of this. This is really deep work. It's really hard work. But once the lights turn on, and you are starting to wake up, there isn't really any going back. You've got to keep moving forward. You have to keep striving. And yeah, it's not easy, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. Because, again, it's not about happiness. It's about awareness. It's about self-awareness. It's about, when you're reclaiming parts of yourself that you've given away through different situations, whether it's a pattern that was learned or whether it was a situation that you have generated through, lack of self-awareness, not being conscious of the thoughts that you were actually putting out into life that were creating situations. It's about empowerment. It's about realizing how much you're actually in control. You're driving your vehicle. Navigate well. Don't give up. Yeah, you are in the driver's seat, as I said, and there are breakthroughs around the corner for you. If not, simply becoming aware that you need to make a shift is in itself a breakthrough. But having the power, the strength, the courage to actually take action, to move forward, that's perhaps the breakthrough that you're on the verge of now, is to actually take action and be more, as I said, participatory and collaborative with life, with the energies that are available to you, and let this situation, turn this situation into something of your advantage. That might sound unreasonable, given that perhaps you're in a difficult situation. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Okay, Aries, that's your reading. Thanks for listening. I'll put the link in the description box for the first reading so that you can have both of them together. I would suggest that you watch these again in a week's time. Perhaps even watch it again right now, because there's a lot of information there and you'll collect different things that are relevant at different moments. But do watch them again, because you'll get more things out of them each time after certain events have happened. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next cycle.